From the nomination time you saw, there was compliance. The party came with its members in a coaster who escorted the head of state. There are even those who wanted us to regulate the number of vehicles. Can you imagine the number of vehicles the head of state moves with? I think that is, you are going too far, but we shall ignore you anyway and continue doing our work. And you will see us move. Even that other issue. So that issue of always referring to candidate Yoweri Museveni, some people use it for just political mileage. What of? And whereas they know the law, they know the privileges that come with a head of state, they know issues concerning the security detail of a head of state, they know how, of course you may not know, but you be told that the movements of a head of state have high security considerations. So you are not going to sit in the comfort of your chair and start advising security on how the president should move, how many vehicles he should move with, whether he can make a stop over somewhere or not. Concentrate on what you can and leave what you can't. Then somebody talked about, today I want to particularly talk about, and that is the issue of, just to give you a recap on the presidential elections week that passed. We shall say that week one of the presidential elections campaign progressed well, generally. While there were the usual tensions that come with the campaigns, those disagreements were resolved. So if you saw components of disagreements, those are normal. A campaign is not a very smooth exercise. There is usually a point at which we have disagreements. There are contradictions that usually emerge, but as long as they are not antagonistic, then they are resolvable. And we resolved them. There were some heated exchanges, you saw them, but we did not register very tangible violence. Our point of disagreement with some of the candidates was especially on campaign routes. We would agree with their committees, organizing committees on certain routes, and then you find a candidate wants to turn around and go against the earlier agreed positions. We also registered one accident, which in the course of the week we gave you feedback. And in that accident that occurred along Kalaji Kayunga Road, that one we vividly registered physical injuries. Motorists were reckless, and as a result, they ended up knocking each other, and some of them walking away with very serious fractures. Otherwise, we want to, going forward, because week 2 has begun, we want to urge the following. One, that any candidate going on a campaign trail, ensure that your organizing committee is in touch with security. so that we agree on a route chart. The venues are already known, so that when we agree on that route chart, that committee gives you feedback, and if they have given you that route chart, endeavor to follow it. We have instructed our officers to precisely follow that. There will be engagement, but after we have agreed on certain positions, the officers on ground will be following those agreed positions without amendment. So we call upon the candidates to follow that. Secondly, is still going on, and like we have told you, you saw the other one pulled off with severe injuries, and what their teams are doing is to think that they can intimidate police by accusing it of being partisan, so that police fears to do its cardinal duties. That one is not going to happen. We are going to stick to what we are supposed to do. We earlier said that traffic regulations are not in abeyance, and neither are any other laws of this country. We shall enforce them. We shall also do engagements. Sometimes we see you make mistakes, and we do not necessarily need to use an iron hand, because it is not necessarily true that at all times only an iron hand works. Where we can engage, we shall engage, but where it calls for the strict application of the law using its hard methods, then we shall do that. That is precisely the message today I came with. Thank you very much. Somebody asked, is it okay okutunuza emundu mu bantu? Ekyo ekifaananyi maybe mbadde sinnabakiraba bulungi, naye kiba kyetaaga n'enkiraba so that nkole interpretation. Okutunuza, kati maybe ekintu kyokka kye nsobola okuddamu is a generic answer. Usually issue eyo eba yeetaaga kugitunuulira. Maybe let me start with English. We need to first understand it in context. Where was that situation? Or is it true he was particularly pointing a gun at a particular person? So that one I cannot give a very concrete position based on, because I do not have that photo in context. The only thing maybe what I know is that any officer who is armed, there are rules that govern the use of a firearm. Should you use it in excess of the guidelines that are given in the use of a lethal weapon, then you will be taken on. So every officer whom you see deployed and carrying a firearm knows at what point he can discharge a bullet. Pointing is one thing, but should the gun be put into action, strictly it must be in compliance with the rules that govern the use of lethal weapons. The extent of threat, the proportionality of use of force must be commensurate with the nature of threat. So there must be justification if you must use a firearm and discharge ammunition. But like I said, this is a contextual matter. I did not see the photo. You are referring to a photo which I have not seen in particular. South to the Kenyans. I've heard of that story. I have responded. The Kenyans who are alleged to have come to join in Kenyan activists who came to join in a rally in Uganda, and it is alleged that they disappeared. I am not briefed by police that they have them in our custody. So at the moment, I don't have any information to the effect that they are in police custody, nor do I have any information that they are accused by police. If I had it, I would volunteer it here without any reservations. I also don't know whether it has been reported formally that they are lost persons or missing persons. I don't have that information. The other issue, the matter which I've even said right now and hinted about it, that we concentrate on only NUP. That's not true. When we are enforcing these rules. No, that is not true. The only challenge we have been having is for political reasons. People always want to drag in the name of the president in their talk all the time. What of the president? What of the president? Let me tell you from today, so that you either accept it or leave it. We have a head of state in Uganda. You either come to terms with it or not, but at least hear it. We are not going to subject a head of state of this country to your incessant calls. Why is the head of state stopping his car? Why is he coming out of the car? Please mind your business. We have a head of state. One thing at least I recall is that we shared most of these expectations with the NRM party. From the nomination time you saw, there was compliance. The party came with its members in Costa, who escorted the head of state. There are even those who wanted us to regulate the number of vehicles. Can you imagine the number of vehicles the head of state moves with? I think that is, you are going too far, but we shall ignore you anyway and continue doing our work. And you will see us move. So far, one of the things we observe is other candidates have also been talked to. Nandala Mafabi, we had an incident, 1 or 2. We engaged him. We also had those disagreements on ground. We had the same with Munyagwa, candidate Munyagwa. So whoever we have issues with, we reach out to him. We know numbers move. Even all those you are saying NOP is being targeted, there are huge numbers move. There are those we ignore, especially where people are organically in numbers moving to a campaign site. Where challenges have come or have arisen is when they want to hold rallies along the routes and trading centers. We have engaged them and made our positions very candid to them. The attacks on police, those we know, they are people who have decided to make a name by attacking the institution of the police. They think that by weakening the police, making it appear brutal, making it appear a human rights violator, they will make their way to parliament and to the capture of state power. We are quite alive to that fact. There are those even who attempt to provoke us into fights so that they make a name. playing a card of victim. We are quite aware of all that. Even when they are planning, we are aware. But we appeal to you to try as much as possible not to look for trouble, because it is in our best interest, all of us, that we have a peaceful election, in the best interest of everybody. Nobody wishes violence, and nobody takes credit when we discredit an electoral process where we are going to determine our leaders for the next 5 years. Even that other issue. So that issue of always referring to candidate Yoweri Museveni, some people use it for just political mileage. What of? And whereas they know the law, they know the privileges that come with a head of state, they know issues concerning the security detail of a head of state, they know how, of course you may not know, but you be told that the movements of a head of state have high security considerations. So you are not going to sit in the comfort of your chair and start advising security on how the president should move, how many vehicles he should move with, whether he can make a stop over somewhere or not. Concentrate on what you can and leave what you can't. Then somebody talked about as to whether there is a complaint against police bodyguards. I speak what police has sent me to say. Police has not told me that there are any complaints registered. So I have no information to that effect. And if they will write to police, they will write to the Electoral Commission and tell us if they have any particular concern against any specific officer who has been detailed to secure any of the candidates. And then, as police, we shall address it as and how it comes, and on the basis of the material evidence adduced by the complainant. We give bad routes, undesirable routes to candidates. The most important thing here, I echoed it. It is our wish that teams which organize for the campaigns of candidates sit with police and other security agencies. As long as they sit and agree, all this does not arise. 2, I thought that the real campaign business is at Elare ground. So why would you complain of a route taking you to a ground if you are going to reach that ground? All roads of Uganda are motorable, to some extent at least. And the roads through which you are directed are the very roads even policemen pass through, and we escort you to the next campaign ground where you are going. We have not had a complaint that the route we arrived at with the candidate does not lead that candidate to a campaign ground, and that when he went, he found that it was not motorable. At the moment, we have not yet got that complaint. So we still call upon you as candidates, stick to the ground rules. Let security have an input in your movements. Let security secure the grounds where you carry out the campaigns from. It is a combined effort. We have ground commanders. We also have your organizing committees. They need to come together and speak one language. Lastly, that there are officers who have been identified particularly campaigning for candidates. First and foremost, it is against our code for any officer to engage in campaigning for any political actor. You have made reference to one of the officers in Masaka. Yes, I made specific consultations about that, and there was an instruction that that matter is investigated, and on the basis of their findings, action is taken by police. So that is the briefing I can give you. Thank you very much. The President, using your activism. You see, let me tell you, I've already said it here, and for me, I am not a shy person. I can discern and tell that a question is particularly just geared at exerting unnecessary pressure or unapplicable pressure. I have said here that we have had several journalists asking us things like, why do you allow a president to, that a president is also moving in a procession, he has many cars. Now, what do you think what type of answer should I give to such a person? You see, we want to remain decent as we give you feedback, but we are incensed with sometimes the quality of questions that are brought to before us. Go and do your own research. What is the extent of security detail befitting of a head of state? That is one. Does a head of state under our laws relinquish power before he becomes a candidate? No. If he doesn't, what happens? Do you slice? Do you reduce his security detail? No. Do you determine his movements? Do you know the extent of preparation that is done before a president moves from point A to point B? You don't know. Now we are telling you that at least what we know is that when the head of state of Uganda, who happens today to be a candidate, is told that today you are going to be in Namorata, so far what we have registered is that he moves with his convoy, with his security detail, and goes to Amurata. We have not registered scenarios where a head of state and also candidate, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is moving with a bundle of boda riders around his convoy. But we have registered it with some candidates. Now, you have ignored all that. I hope you know that also journalists are accused of being biased. And those are some of the prop-ups. Those are some of the signs that show bias in your reporting. The other day, an accident occurred. Not a single journalist talked about it. Conveniently avoided it. And an accident was as a result of a procession and irresponsible use of the road with those multitudes of boda riders. So when we see that kind of deliberate bias, we act decent and just avoid you. But if you continue tickling us, we shall give you feedback. So the feedback is, we call upon the candidates to follow the law. And it's very simple. A law, you either follow it or you don't, but always expect consequences. challenge yonna nabo. Is your allegation correct, or you are simply giving a political opinion? Buwali kyagadde naye si bwe tukola. You see, the good thing, I'm luring you into your political interests. So, journalists, let's concentrate on doing professional journalism. Just be like us. You do reporting with the fairness, eh? Yes. The public. Today, I have only one issue, but before I talk about it, allow me take this opportunity to share with you the news of the demise of one of the administrators in the police, the late AIGP Charles Kataratambi. Charles passed on the 2nd October at Nakasero Hospital. Charles was our Director, Human Rights and Legal Services. He passed on, and we shall be laying him to rest this Saturday at his ancestral home in Mbarara. We shall also be having a service this Friday at Watoto Church at 9 a.m. For those of you who knew him, he was an officer with immense intellectual prowess, a lawyer by training, a dedicated officer who committed himself to service. We shall miss him as the police fraternity and the wider fraternity of friends and family. We wish him eternal repose, our departed AIGP Charles Kataratambi. I will go to